"Margaret, sweetie, why don't you help serve the appetizers? You'd be more comfortable in the kitchen with the catering staff." My daughter's fiancé's mother said this to me at their engagement party, in front of 40 guests, and smiled like she'd just offered me a kindness. I'm Margaret Chen, and I'm 62 years old. My husband William and I immigrated to Canada from Hong Kong 38 years ago with 2 suitcases, $100, and dreams bigger than we dared speak aloud. William worked construction during the day and took English classes at night. I cleaned houses, not offices, not buildings, people's homes. I scrubbed their toilets, washed their floors, ironed their clothes, and organized their chaos. For 25 years, that's what I did. Our daughter Lily was born 2 years after we arrived. She was our miracle, our reason for everything. We didn't have much, but what we had, we poured into her. While other kids went to summer camps, Lily came with me to work sometimes. She'd sit quietly with her books while I cleaned, never complaining, always studying. She saw her mother on her hands and knees scrubbing other people's floors, and instead of being ashamed, she worked harder. She earned a full scholarship to the University of Toronto, then got her MBA from Western. At 34, she's now a senior financial analyst at one of the big banks downtown. That's where she met Devon. Devon Martinez, 36, investment banker, from one of those families where money has had money for so long they've forgotten what it's like not to have it. Old Toronto money, the kind that comes with a heritage home in Rosedale and a cottage in Muskoka that's been in the family for 3 generations. I'll be honest, I had reservations from the start. Not because Devon wasn't successful or handsome or charming, he was all those things. But there was something in the way he talked about his work, his life, his world. Everything was about appearances, about who knew whom, about which club his father belonged to. When Lily first brought him home for dinner 8 months ago, he looked around our modest 3-bedroom house in Scarborough like he was visiting a museum exhibit on how middle-class people lived. "This is cozy," he'd said, and I'd seen Lily's face fall just slightly before she recovered with a smile. But Lily loved him, or thought she did, and who was I to stand in the way of my daughter's happiness? William and I, we raised her to make her own choices, to be strong and independent. If this was what she wanted, we'd support her. The engagement party was held at the Martinez family home, a sprawling property in Rosedale with a circular driveway, columns at the entrance, and enough square footage to house 3 families like ours. Devon's mother, Charlotte Martinez, had insisted on hosting. "It's tradition," she'd told Lily, though the way she said it made it clear she didn't trust us to host anything appropriate. Charlotte was 58, perfectly preserved in that way wealthy women who've never worked a day in their lives can be. Everything matched her jewelry, her shoes, her perfectly highlighted hair. She'd been polite enough when we'd met before, but there was always this slight distance, like she was examining something under glass. William and I arrived at 6:30, exactly when we were told. I'd bought a new dress for the occasion, nothing expensive, but nice, navy blue with a modest neckline. William wore the suit he'd bought for Lily's graduation. We'd both wanted to look our best. The house was magnificent. Crystal chandeliers, marble floors, artwork that probably cost more than our mortgage. Waiters circulated with champagne and canapes. I recognized the catering company. I'd actually cleaned the owner's house once, years ago. The irony wasn't lost on me. Lily greeted us at the door, looking absolutely radiant in a cream-colored cocktail dress. "Mom, Dad, you made it! Come in! Come meet everyone!" Devon appeared beside her, perfectly groomed in what I'd learned to recognize as a very expensive suit. "Margaret, William, welcome. Let me introduce you to some people." The next hour was a blur of handshakes and names I'd forget immediately. Everyone was polite, but I could feel the assessments happening. Where did we live? What did we do? Where did Lily get her education? The questions were subtle, but they were there. Charlotte found us near the fireplace. "Margaret, William, so glad you could make it." "Margaret, that's such a lovely dress. Is it from Hudson's Bay?" It was from Winners, actually, but I just smiled. "Thank you, Charlotte. Your home is beautiful." "Oh, this old place," she waved her hand dismissively. "It's been in the family forever. So much upkeep, you know. I sometimes envy people with more manageable properties." I felt William tense beside me, but I squeezed his hand gently. Then came dinner. Charlotte had arranged the seating, of course. William and I were placed at a table near the back of the dining room with some of Devon's more distant relatives, his second cousin, an elderly aunt, and a couple who seemed as uncomfortable as we were. The family table, where Devon's parents and his sister and brother sat, was front and center, elevated slightly on what I can only describe as a small platform. "So sorry," Charlotte had said when showing us to our seats. "We're just so tight on space with all these people. But you'll be comfortable here, I'm sure." Lily looked uncomfortable but said nothing. Devon didn't even seem to notice. The meal began, and that's when Charlotte made her rounds. She stopped at our table, champagne glass in hand, and that's when she said it. "Margaret, sweetie, why don't you help serve the appetizers? You'd be more comfortable in the kitchen with the catering staff. I'm sure they could use an extra pair of experienced hands." The table went quiet. Even the distant cousin stopped mid-bite. I looked at her, this perfectly coiffed woman smiling at me like she'd just suggested I'd enjoy a walk in the garden. The implication was crystal clear. I was a housekeeper, a cleaner. I belonged in the kitchen with the help, not sitting at the table with the guests. "I'm quite comfortable here, thank you," I said quietly. Charlotte's smile didn't waver. "Oh, I just thought, well, you must feel so out of place with all this." She gestured vaguely at the room. "I know how intimidating these events can be for people who aren't used to this sort of thing." "Mother," Devon called from the family table, "is everything all right?" "Oh, everything's fine, darling. Just making sure everyone's comfortable." She patted my shoulder and moved on, laughing as she joined another group. I felt like I'd been slapped. Not because the suggestion itself was offensive. There's nothing shameful about serving food or working in a kitchen. I'd done both plenty of times. It was the intent behind it, the casual cruelty, the assumption that I was somehow less than everyone else in that room because of what I'd done for a living. William leaned close. "We should go." "No," I said. "We're staying." But something had shifted in me. I'd been willing to overlook so much the subtle condescension, the pointed questions, the obvious discomfort some of these people felt at having to socialize with us. I'd done it for Lily. But this crossed a line. I needed some air. I excused myself and headed toward the bathroom, taking the long way through the house. That's when I heard them. Charlotte's voice was coming from what looked like a study, the door slightly ajar. I should have kept walking, I really should have. But I heard Lily's name, and I stopped. "Can't believe Devon is actually going through with this." That was Charlotte. "Mother, we discussed this." Devon's voice. "Lily's smart, she's successful, she's from Scarborough, Devon. Her parents are immigrants. Her mother was a cleaning lady, for heaven's sake." "Is a cleaning lady," another voice added. "A man, probably Devon's father, Richard. What does she even do now?" "I don't know, retired, I suppose," Charlotte said. "The point is, Devon, you come from a certain background. People will talk. They already are talking. I don't care what people say." "Well, you should," Charlotte snapped. "Your father and I have worked very hard to maintain our position in this community. We have expectations, standards. Lily meets every standard that matters." "Does she?" Charlotte's voice was sharp. "Can she host a proper dinner party? Does she know which fork to use? Will she embarrass us at the club? This is ridiculous." "Is it?" "Devon, I've tried to be supportive." "Really, I have. She's a lovely girl, but she's not one of us. And her parents, well, I've seated them appropriately tonight. Can you imagine William trying to make conversation with the Harrisons or the Blackwoods? It would be painful for everyone." There was a pause. "I'm considering asking them not to come to the wedding," Charlotte continued, "or at least seating them somewhere discreet. Maybe we could say they're camera shy." "You can't be serious." "I'm being practical. This is your wedding, Devon, but it's also our family's event. We have a reputation to maintain. Lily will understand. She seems like a sensible girl. I'm sure she's as embarrassed by them as we are." I'd heard enough. My hands were shaking, and I felt tears threatening, but I wouldn't cry. Not here, not for them. I walked back to the dining room in a daze. Lily was at our table now, having come to check on us. "Mom, are you okay? You look pale." I looked at my daughter. my brilliant, beautiful daughter who I'd raised to be proud of who she was, where she came from, and I realized she was about to marry into a family that would spend the rest of her life making her and us feel like we weren't good enough. Lily, we need to talk. Privately. We went out to the garden, William following. Under a pergola wrapped in fairy lights, I told her everything I'd heard. Lily's face went through so many emotions: shock, hurt, anger, disbelief. Mom, I'm sure Mother Charlotte didn't mean. She meant every word, sweetheart. And Devon, he pushed back, but not hard enough. He's considering going along with it. No, Devon wouldn't. Lily, William said gently, your mother and we've seen things like this before. We know what it looks like when people think they're better than us. But Devon loves me. Maybe he does, I said. But does he respect you? Does he respect us? And more importantly, will his family ever respect you? Or will you spend your entire marriage trying to prove you're worthy of their name? Lily was crying now, and it broke my heart. But I continued, sweetheart, you deserve someone who's proud of you, of your family, of where you came from, someone who would never let anyone make you feel less than. I don't know what to do. That's not for us to decide, I said. But I do know this, your father and we love you more than anything in this world. We came to this country with nothing so you could have everything. And we're proud of what we built, of the work we did, of who we are. We're not ashamed, and we won't be treated as if we should be. We went back inside. Charlotte was holding court near the fireplace, laughing with a group of guests. Devon was beside her. I walked straight up to them. Charlotte, could I have a moment? She turned, her smile automatic and empty. Of course, Margaret. Is something wrong? Yes, actually. I overheard your conversation with Devon earlier, about how you're considering not having us at the wedding, about how we're an embarrassment. Her face went pale, then red. The group around us went silent. I don't know what you think you heard, but I heard exactly what you said, and I want you to know something. You're right about one thing. I was a cleaning lady. I cleaned houses for 25 years. I scrubbed toilets and washed floors and did work that you've probably never done in your entire life, work that you clearly think makes me beneath you. Devon stepped forward. Margaret, I'm sure there's been a misunderstanding. Is there, Devon? Did your mother not suggest hiding us at the wedding? Did she not say we weren't one of you? He couldn't meet my eyes. I thought so. I turned back to Charlotte. Here's what you don't know about me, Charlotte. About 7 years ago, I stopped cleaning individual houses. Want to know why? Because I'd saved enough money to start my own business. Chen Cleaning Services. Maybe you've heard of it? We're one of the largest commercial cleaning companies in the GTA now. We have contracts with half the office buildings downtown, including, I paused for effect, including the building where Devon's firm is located. We employ over 200 people. Last year, our revenue was just over $8 million. Charlotte's mouth opened and closed like a fish. And those years of cleaning houses, I saved every penny. That's how we paid for Lily's education. That's how we bought our house outright, no mortgage. That's how we've built a comfortable retirement for ourselves. Not inherited, Charlotte, earned. I could see people gathering now, sensing drama. But here's the thing, even if I was still cleaning houses, even if I had nothing, that wouldn't make me less than you. It wouldn't make me an embarrassment. The only embarrassing thing here tonight is your attitude, your casual cruelty, your snobbery. How dare you, Charlotte started. No, how dare you, I said firmly. How dare you make assumptions about people based on what they do for a living? How dare you think money and a big house make you better than anyone else? You want to talk about class? Real class isn't about which neighborhood you live in or which club your father belonged to. It's about how you treat people, especially people you think can't do anything for you. I turned to Devon. You seem like a decent man, Devon. But you're about to marry my daughter, and you need to decide something right now. Are you going to stand up for her? For us? Or are you going to spend your life trying to please a mother who will never think anyone is good enough? The room was completely silent now. Lily was beside me, tears streaming down her face. Devon looked at his mother, then at Lily, then back at me. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then Charlotte laughed, high and brittle. Well, This is quite the speech. Very dramatic. Richard, I think we should. Mother, stop. Devon's voice cut through the tension. Margaret's right. You've been horrible. To her, to William, to Lily. Devon, I was only thinking of your future. No, you were thinking of yourself, of what your friends would think, of your reputation. He took a breath. I love Lily, and I've been a coward, letting you make comments, letting you treat her family like they're somehow less important. I should have stopped it the first time. He turned to me. Margaret, William, I apologize. Truly, there's no excuse for how you've been treated tonight. An apology is a start, I said quietly. But words are easy, Devon. What matters is what you do next. You're right. He looked at Lily. I'm sorry. I should have protected you better. I should have shut this down months ago. Lily wiped her eyes. Devon, I love you. But I need to know, can you really stand up to your family? Because if we get married, my parents are part of our life. They're not something to be hidden or managed. They're not an embarrassment. They're not, he agreed. They're remarkable people who built something from nothing, who raised an incredible daughter. And anyone who can't see that he looked pointedly at his mother isn't someone whose opinion matters. Charlotte looked like she'd been slapped. Richard, standing beside her, looked deeply uncomfortable. I think, I said carefully, that Lily and Devon need to have a long conversation about what their future looks like and whether it's one where all family is respected and valued. I took William's hand. We're going to go now. Lily, sweetheart, whatever you decide, we support you. But we won't be treated as less than. Not by anyone. We left. As we walked to our car, I could hear the buzz of conversation starting up behind us. Let them talk. Let them gossip. I'd said what needed to be said. In the car, William was quiet for a long time. Then he reached over and squeezed my hand. That was something. Did I go too far? No, he said firmly. You were perfect. I was proud of you in there, and you were right about all of it. We didn't hear from Lily until the next morning. She called early, her voice rough from crying. Mom, can I come over? She arrived an hour later, still in yesterday's clothes, eyes red and puffy. William made tea while she sat at our kitchen table, the same table we'd bought secondhand 25 years ago, the same table where she'd done her homework every night. I broke up with Devon, she said quietly. My heart clenched. Oh, sweetheart. Not right away, she continued. We talked for hours last night. He said all the right things, that he'd stand up to his mother, that he'd make it work, that he loved me enough to overcome everything. And maybe he meant it. Maybe he would have tried. But, William prompted gently, but I realized something. Lily looked up at us with red-rimmed eyes. I realized that I didn't want to spend my life fighting to be accepted by his family, fighting to prove I'm good enough, fighting to defend you guys every time someone made a comment. Devon might have stood up for me, but he shouldn't have had to. It should have been automatic. It should have been his first instinct, not something he had to work up to after his mother was publicly humiliated. She wiped her eyes. And I thought about you, Mom, about how you and Dad built a life here. You didn't have anyone handing you anything. You worked for everything. And you taught me to be proud of that, to never apologize for who I am or where I come from. We did, I said softly. I was starting to forget that. I was starting to see us through Charlotte's eyes as something lesser, something to apologize for. And that's not who I am. That's not who you raised me to be. William pulled her into a hug. You made the right choice, Lily. It takes courage to walk away from something when it's not right, even when you love someone. I know. It still hurts, though. It will for a while, I said. But you'll heal, and someday you'll meet someone who loves you and values you and respects where you came from, someone who doesn't need to be convinced that your family is worth respecting. We spent the day together, the three of us, watching old movies and eating comfort food and just being together. It felt like when Lily was young, when it was just us against the world. A week later, we got a letter from Devon. A real letter, handwritten, not an email or a text. He apologized again, more thoroughly this time. He explained that he'd had a long conversation with his parents, that he'd told them their behavior was unacceptable, that he'd given them an ultimatum about treating people with respect. He said he understood why Lily ended things, that he didn't blame her, that he hoped someday they might be friends. The letter ended with something unexpected. "Margaret, you were right about everything you said that night. I've spent my whole life taking for granted the privileges I was born with, never thinking about what it takes to build something from scratch. You and William are remarkable people. I'm sorry I didn't see that clearly enough, soon enough. I hope Lily finds someone who deserves her from day one, not someone who has to learn how to—" I showed the letter to Lily. She cried again, but this time with a small smile. "He's growing," she said. "Maybe too late for us, but he's growing." 6 months later, Lily met someone new. James Wong, 37, a civil engineer whose parents had also immigrated from Hong Kong, who'd also built their life from scratch. At their first dinner with us, James spent 20 minutes asking William about his construction work and telling stories about his own father's business. He asked me about Chen Cleaning Services with genuine interest, wanted to know about the challenges of running a growing company, shared his own entrepreneurial dreams. At the end of the evening, as they were leaving, James hugged us both. "Thank you for raising such an amazing person," he said simply. After they left, William and I sat on our couch in our modest living room in our modest house, and I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. "You know what I've learned?" I said to William. "It's not about the size of your house or the neighborhood you live in or whether your family has old money. It's about recognizing the value in people, regardless of how they make their living. It's about treating everyone, the janitor, the CEO, the person serving your coffee, the person performing your surgery with basic human dignity." "You've always known that," William said. "That's why you're the strongest person I know." "We both are," I corrected. "We built this life together. We raised an incredible daughter together, and we showed her that pride doesn't come from what others think of you. It comes from knowing who you are and being unashamed of the work you've done to get there." I think about that night at Charlotte's house sometimes. I think about the lessons I hope Lily learned, not just about standing up for yourself, though that's important, but about the deeper things. There's dignity in all honest work. The person cleaning your office, serving your food, fixing your car, they're building their lives, supporting their families, contributing to society. They deserve your respect, not your pity or condescension. Wealth doesn't equal worth. Having money doesn't make you better than anyone else. It just means you have money. Character, integrity, kindness, those are the measures of a person's value. Never apologize for your origins. Whether you came from poverty or privilege, what matters is what you do with it, how you treat people, what you build. And maybe most importantly, marry someone who loves and respects not just you, but where you come from. Someone who sees your family not as an embarrassment to manage, but as part of what makes you who you are. Lily married James 2 years later. It was a modest wedding, nothing like the Martinez extravaganza would have been. We held it at a community center in our neighborhood, catered by the Chinese restaurant where we'd been going for 20 years. James's parents and ours gave speeches about immigration, hard work, and building new lives in a new country. There wasn't a dry eye in the house. And you know what? It was perfect, because everyone there was someone who loved Lily and James for who they actually were, not for what they represented or how they might enhance someone's social standing. I heard through mutual acquaintances that Charlotte Martinez was appalled when she learned about the wedding she wasn't invited to. Apparently, she told people that it was terribly tacky of us to hold a grudge, that she'd done nothing wrong, that I'd been unreasonably sensitive. I don't care. Some people will never understand. Some people will go through their entire lives believing that their money, their breeding, their connections make them superior to everyone else. You can't fix that kind of thinking. You can only refuse to let it diminish you. I'm 62 years old now. My hands aren't as young as they used to be. Years of cleaning have taken their toll. But when I look at those hands, I see strength. I see every floor I scrubbed, every window I washed, every dollar I saved. I see the business I built, the employees I support, the life I created for my family. I see dignity. And no one, no matter how wealthy or well-connected, can take that away from me. That's what I hope Lily remembers. That's what I hope she teaches her own children someday. Your worth isn't determined by what others think of you. It's determined by who you are when no one is watching, by how you treat people who can do nothing for you, by the integrity you bring to everything you do. Charlotte Martinez, with all her money and her big house and her old family name, will never understand that. But Lily does, and that's all that matters.